Therefore, before I get onto the application, just wanted to give you a quick brief about the concept and what I'm going to do a demo for today. Therefore, if whenever you use any project in CodeBeamer, it always comes with a default branch. We also call it as a head, or you can also call it as a master branch, or the default working set. Now, when you are working, suppose on any ECU, let's take the example of a charging unit. Now, a charging unit can be different for based on in Japan or in Europe or in US because of the standards. So therefore, you may not like to create different projects for different charging units, but you may have only one project for the charging unit, and you can wherever the requirements are different, you can spin off a variant working set. So therefore, you can have, like, for example, in this case, I can have a different variant, a different working set for US variant, and I can have a different working set for Europe variant. And within the Europe variant also, I can again sub branch and create a different working set for Germany, for example. Okay, so you can do like this. Now, the second thing which also we'll see in today's demo is that once you have done the branch, like suppose here once I have done the branch on this node, okay, for this requirement, and suppose this is the customer requirement specification, right? And then after doing the branching, I make a lot of changes on the EU variant, and then again I further make another sub branch for Germany, and again make some changes. Then I want to merge this change from Germany branch to the EU variant branch, and then from EU variant branch, I want to merge onto the default working set. So therefore, I'll do a demo of these concepts so that it's very clear how it is done. But these all are possible, and these all are done typically accomplished by a working set. Now, with this context, let me quickly go to the system. Therefore, I have a project here. It's an empty project. Therefore, I'll go ahead and create two customer requirement specs. Therefore, very quickly, and I will not go in detail how to do these things, but just to show that this is one. And I'm intensely creating in as part of this demo so that the concepts are much clearer, because so that we don't have any existing data which leads to some confusion sometime. And then I go ahead and create a system requirement spec, and again two system requirement spec, SRS1 and SRS2. Okay. That's two here. Therefore, two customer requirement spec and two system requirement specs. Okay, and all this I did on the default working set. Okay, and now and then the descriptions are all very common here. Now, just imagine that this is a ECU which you are developing for a car, and the car has to be sold, for in different countries, right? Therefore, I may have a different requirement for those market. And again, this is not ISO 26262 template. I'm just using a default only requirements management template so that it's easy to explain this concept. So now with this, I will go ahead and create a new working set, and for Europe, for example. Okay, therefore I go here and say I want to create a EU variant working set. Okay, so this is a different working set. Let's call it a EU variant working set, and I mark it dark red or maroon so that when you toggle between the working set, you will be able to recognize from the color. And this is just a key, and then I say next. Now here there's two concepts here. Like as you see, it selects by default all the trackers. It's saying that do you want to create a branch for all the trackers? I would say no. You should be very selective enough, because there are a lot of trackers which will be shared trackers. Like for example, some of these trackers like a release or the bug or even the task, they may not be. They may be shared ones. As you see here, there are some which are marked as shared. That means you cannot branch them. But in general, also, like I will go ahead and mark everything shared to keep it simple, and then I will show the difference between what does it mean by shared and non-shared. Now, this means that when I'm creating a new working set for EU variant, everything will be shared. That doesn't make sense, right? So therefore, that means there will be only one instance of any requirement. If I change on the EU variant or if I change on the main branch, it will get updated for on both. Like it will always get reflected on both because there's only one copy of it. Therefore, in this case, what I'll do is I will unselect a customer requirement spec. That means only customer requirement spec I want to do a branching. That means I want to have a different something different for EU variant, but from the master variant. But for all others, they can be a common. Okay. So with this, I go ahead and create this working set. I just need to review that. As you see here, only for customer requirement spec, I have not selected. Rest all I've selected, and then I say create a working set. Now, when I create this working set and then when I refresh this, you will see here that there is a working set known as EU variant WS, that is working set. Now, when I toggle this to EU variant working set, it shows me again the same data, but for system requirement spec, it says 2 out of 2, but shared, and it says shared for all rest. Only for the customer requirements specification, it doesn't show shared because I can make the changes. Okay, that is the difference between these two. Now, how does therefore what we did now is we had this main branch, and now we created this Europe branch. Now what we'll do is we will make changes. Therefore, I'll show you like if you make this change, like from here to here, if you make changes, what happens on the green bar. Okay. Or if I make a change on the EU variant from here to here, what happens on the master branch? So let's see this. First, let's go to the default working set. And in this default working set, I go to the customer requirement spec and I make a change here. Therefore, I say here, I have a change is made on the main branch, or you also call it as a default working set. Okay. This is I am doing it on the master. Therefore, when you do these changes on the master, all these variant branches will get a notification that there is a change which is happening on the main branch. So therefore, what does this mean is if I go to the EU variant working set, you will see there's a notification here that this CRS1 is updated on the main branch. Now, what do? I can click this and then I can, decide what I need to do. So I click this. And when I click this, you see here that it says that there's a merge required from the default working branch. This was a change. Do you want to implement this change on the EU variant branch? And I say yes. I say apply. That means this change has come here, and I can say merge. Or I can just ignore it. I can just say ignore this and say mark as merged. That means my notification will go away. Therefore, instead of doing this, I go ahead and say apply and say merge, and then you will see the difference in the. So therefore, now if you see here that the toggle or the notification or the flagging has gone, and I see the merge happening here. Okay. Now, this is on the case where it was supposed to get merged, but I also have a system requirement spec which is shared. In this case, what happens? Therefore, in this case, if I go to the default working set and make a change here and say that same thing, a change is made on the main branch or default WS, there will be no notification on the EU variant working set because it's the same thing. It's the same one instance only. It is just shared between both the branches, the master and the EU variant. Therefore, it just gets reflected. Okay. The other thing I wanted to highlight is this, that if I make any changes on the variant branch, like for example, if I go back to the customer requirement spec, and if I make a change here, like for the second one, and if I make a change here and say here a change is made on the EU variant, you will not get the notification on the main branch. You will never get a notification on the main branch. Always the notification will be on the variant branch. The reason being that the main branch can have multiple branches. If you're making a changes in the independent branches, and if I start notifying onto the main branch that there are changes, when you look at this change, you will get overwhelmed because if you have 5 branches, there will be 5 tags there, right? Therefore, if you, whenever there's a difference between, or there's a drift between the any of the branches, the notification is always on the variant branch from wherever the source is, and not on the main branch at all. So therefore, just an update. But if I do a change on the main branch, then it will get notified on all the variant branch that there is a change, and do you want to merge? Okay. Now the other thing is, this is the concept here. Therefore, in this case, you see here on the variant branch, there's a notification. But if I go to the default working set, there is no notification here at all. It shows there's no change. It doesn't say me to merge, but it shows me on the EU variant branch and where I made the change. And if I want to push it to the to default branch, I can do it. Therefore, this is EU variant working set. And from here, I can push it to the default working set, which is the main branch, and say apply, say merge, and it'll get merged. Now, if I go to the default working set, I will see that the change from the EU variant is merged here. Okay, but this process, what I showed is the concept. But in reality, you will never do the way I'm showing, because you will do it through a formal process. That means if there's any difference from or any drift in the Germany branch, if I want to merge on the EU branch, I need to go through an approval process. I need to go through a formal process. And the same thing, if I want to do from here to the main branch, I need to go through a formal process. So therefore, we will not cover the formal process here, but I'll just quickly show you the steps. Because it's same as send to review hub. Something similar concept there. Therefore, for example, if I go here and if I go to the EU variant and go to the customer requirement spec, and okay, it says okay. Therefore, now I am in the EU variant spec, and now if I make a change here and I remove this text, okay, and then if I say apply. So I have made the changes on the EU variant, and it says that I can update the master variant. But since it's the master, I cannot update just directly, right? On just a click of it, right? It should go through approval process. So therefore, you can click this more icon. And then just like the send to a review hub, there is something known as send merge request or send merge request from selection. If I've selected something, I'll better select this. If I select this, if you remember the UI for review hub, it's exactly the same UI. The first step is skipped because I already have selected what I want to send for merge. It says that okay, you have selected this, and the target tracker is the tracker where you selected the items to be merged. Okay, fine. And then I say next, I review this, and then it shows the preview. Okay, the preview is this, that on the EU variant you have only this, whereas on this side you have this. Therefore, if you merge, this extra line will go away. Okay, so it's fine. It's just for preview, but I need to submit this detail to the reviewers, and reviewers have to decide and approve. Now, when I go to the next step, it says what should be the name of this review. I say demo WS, demo working set. Okay. And then it says that, okay, this is for this project, and this is on this request which I'm creating. It is on CRS1, that is customer requirement spec 1, and in the EU variant working set. Okay, and then I click here next. And then, again, I don't want to go through, but let me just quickly cover this. This is again like a review hub. So therefore, you have reviewers and you have moderator. Therefore, right now, if I type anything else, there's nobody in this project other than me. So I am the reviewer and I am the moderator. I just say this, okay. I can also select notify the reviewers, notify the moderator so that they get notified there's a task coming to them to review the merge, and then they can accept and then they can merge. I can also say that I want minimum one signature from the reviewer. For simplicity of this, I can remove this, otherwise I have to sign it, and so on. And then say next. Okay, now once it is done, we just review this and say create merge request. So this is like a merge request. Therefore, once I have done this, it automatically takes me to the review hub, but it's like a merge request. And it says that the update on this CRS1, it doesn't have anything. I click here and I see, okay, what is the difference here? There's only this here, and there's a big line here. And what should I do with this? And I'm a reviewer, therefore I cannot do much other than analyze it and just say that, okay, look at this difference and then go ahead and approve this job. Therefore, I look at it, I close this window, and this is to approve. And this is the place where I can put a comment. And in the comment, also note that you can suppose I can just put a comment. OK, go ahead with merge. Go ahead with merge, or I can reject as well. But whenever you do a comment, there's also a possibility that where you can say that there's a problem and you can reject it, or you can also give your proposal, like what you want to do, like you want to do half of the merge or what you want to do. OK, all that thing. And once you are done with all these things, you can accept. If you have multiple requests, you will get a lot of line items here, and you can get this signal just like this. You can just select and decide. Some you can approve, some you can reject the way you want. Once you are done, just say finish, and then merge all items and finish. Suppose, for example, I select this all items and new documents of all approved, and it just gives you the message that all this will be merged and so on. And it says everything is done. And then when I go to Review Hub, I don't see that anymore. It's the same process. The whole idea here was this, that I wanted to show that you can go through a formal process to do this merge. That was the key part of it. The other last concept which I want to cover in this today's demo was you have this main branch and the variant branch. Now there may be scenarios where if I have a requirement here, I have a drifted requirement here and a drifted requirement here, but or I need some additional details from my EU variant because of some regulatory needs, and because of which I need a field, I need an extra field here. OK, and it may happen that for US, the process flow may be different. Therefore, I need a different process flow here. You can do a drift in the data model also. So therefore, that is what I will cover now. So therefore, if I go back to the same project, and suppose this was the one, and if you see here in the customer right now, I'm in EU variants working set. Now in the EU variant working set, I need a field, I need an extra field. For example, therefore I go here and say configure, and actually I can also change this process here. Like suppose if I need some more stringent workflow here or more stringent approvals here, I can have a different approval process here. Fields are very easy, very quickly visible. Therefore, I'll go and add a field. And suppose I go and add a field and say call it as EU variant, EU variant. OK, just EU variant, and any field you can give any name. I'm just giving it as for simplicity. I'm not going through all this, and say OK here, and then say save. OK. So I have created a field for this customer requirement spec. Therefore, now if I go here in the EU variant working set, if I go to any one of it, and it says that it's updated on the default working set. But now if I see here, there's a field now EU variant. Now if I select here and put a text saying that a demo. OK. And now what I did is I made a data model change. Therefore, EU variant, there's now a field and there's a value here. And it also says that there's an update which I have done on the EU variant working set. But if I go to the default working set, there is no field like EU variant field. What we did just now is we added an extra field for the EU variant for the same tracker, that is customer requirement spec, which is not there on this main branch. OK. Now the problem with such type of request is this, that if I now go back to the EU variant working set, it says that there's an update. What is this update? This update is that I've added a field and I've added a value to the field. Now how can I merge this? Therefore, if I go here, this cannot be merged because I don't know why I'm getting this, but this cannot be merged because I have one here, therefore it was branches. OK, but what I wanted to say was is that if you have a scenario like this, if I right now have two things going on here, but suppose if I just had only this data model change and this field, you will get a conflict because this cannot be merged directly on the main branch because main branch doesn't have this field, right? So therefore, in such case, what you do is in the merge request, you also get a checkbox saying mark as merged. So typically you just flag it because you know that this is a data model change and it will not pop up again because this is already accepted change. These are the key concepts which I wanted to cover in today's demo. A quick recap of this is that we have one main branch which always comes by default, and then you can spin off as many branches. We call it as a working set. In the previous versions of Codebeamer, it was known as branches, but now with the later versions of the Codebeamer, it is known as a working set. And then in the working set, you can drift, you can also merge request, you can also add a process to approve this merge request, and also that each of this branch can drift from the main branch on the data model itself. So with this, I close this, and this concept is very useful for product variants or for variants with respect to the customer. Like, sometimes if you're in the services business, you may have some derivatives for different customers, but the platform is still the same. And in such cases, you do this. The whole objective here is that you don't need to create multiple projects. Your project will always be one. Like, for example, a charging unit is always going to be one. And for US charger or for Europe charger, you just create branches, and that's how you manage this whole thing.